Hello, everybody. My name is Ray. Welcome to the Evangelical Dark Web. Today, we're going to be discussing Mike Pence and his views on transgenderism. Mike Pence is advocating a very popular position on transgenderism. However, it is not a biblical position, yet he is invoking the Bible to justify an unbiblical nuance on this issue. And that's what we're going to be talking about in this video. It involves him trying to justify legalized transgender surgeries for adults, and he uses the Bible in his explanation, and we got some issues with that because that's an unbiblical nuance, but we're going to talk about that. But first, I do want to say that Mike Pence is not the most pro-transgender candidate in the Republican Party. That probably goes to Chris Christie. He's been all about this before 2020 even. So Chris Christie been pretty liberal on this issue for a very long time. But Chris Christie isn't trying to appeal to the evangelical voting bloc. And this is the Evangelical Dark Web, so we're going to cover the evangelical voting bloc. Mike Pence has some allies in Franklin Graham and some other people out there. So I think he's a very relevant candidate in this race for this voting bloc because I think you're going to see some big Eva types come out in support of Mike Pence to claim that they're conservative while supporting a not conservative candidate. So with that said, I want to let you know about how you can support Evangelical Dark Web. You can support us over at evangelicaldarkweb.org/join. That's our Patreon-like system. But the least you can do is like this video, subscribe to the channel if you are new. That really helps with those magical YouTube algorithms and all that other stuff, or the podcast metrics as well. And we also check out that free Evangelical Dark Web newsletter. So here is a clip. It's from Jordan Peterson's channel, 7 million subs on YouTube. That's a lot, but this video is ratioed 10,000 dislikes on this video. So pretty substantial hate that Jordan Peterson's getting for this. And here is the nuance.
Degree with regard to what's happening in Florida. When you think about strategy to forestall the narcissistic progressive agenda, what sort of strategies do you have in mind that could be employed at the federal level?
Well, first, I'm heartened to hear the progress in other countries protecting kids from chemical or surgical gender transition. I strongly support efforts in my home state of Indiana and around the country to prohibit gender transition, chemical or surgical treatment for children under the age of 18. I'm libertarian enough to say if you're an adult, you live while you live. I may not agree with decisions you make, but we'll love you and love our neighbor as ourselves, as my faith requires, right? But live and let live. But for our kids, absolutely not. We've got to take a strong stand. I did a town hall on CNN not long ago, and the host of the show insisted on asking me, I think about 5 times in a row, about why I took such a strong stand on that. And I said, look, I'm standing here not just as a former vice president and a governor. I'm a dad. I'm a grandfather. This is really about protecting our kids from making decisions early in their lives, but when they're not equipped to make them. There's a reason we don't let kids drive cars until they're 16, and you can't even get a tattoo under the age of 18 in my home state. So this principle of protecting kids from irreversible choices, and have spoken more eloquently than maybe anyone else about the deleterious effects. Now, go back to your question, because I think it's the fundamental question, and that is, so how do we push back? And I will tell you, I believe that giving parents the ability to choose where their children go to school, public, private, parochial, or homeschool, is the cure for what ails education in America. I think your point about teacher certification is a profound one.
So that's the clip. I just wanted to provide the extra context because the question that Jordan Peterson asked isn't really about medically transitioning children. That's not actually what he's asked about. He's asked about a lot of the Florida policies and stuff like that and standing up to progressive wokeism and all that other stuff. Mike Pence does pretty much go out of his way to address this issue in my assessment of his answer. But in doing so, he wanders into some very unbiblical territory. And let's just talk about loving your neighbor as yourself. Is loving your neighbor as yourself allowing this mutilation to be legal? No, it's really not. And Mike Pence is trying to frame this as an individual liberty issue, whereas I think it's not a biblical framework because, individual liberty doesn't really apply to things that are well outside of natural law and natural rights, inalienable rights. So, there is no inalienable right from God to transgender yourself. That's not an inalienable right. So, with that said, the other thing that needs to be focused on is the medical establishment. The Hippocratic Oath has to mean something. I think conservatives have done a terrible job trying to frame the issue in this light. Just like how I don't think enough conservatives frame the gay marriage issue as an issue. It's really about gender and how they're just going to, bring on all this gender ideology after we already made pretty much legally there's no distinction between a man and a woman as relates to family units. Then it would trickle down to in other aspects of society. And we've definitely seen the slippery slope in full effect. However, with regards to the medical establishment, that's how this issue needs to be framed. And I think that's the popular way to do it because the Hippocratic Oath means something. Do no harm. That is a doctor's duty to not harm a patient. And we need to argue this territory that these procedures are harmful to the patient and pose no real benefit. That is where the debate needs to center, and that's why I think, as a Christian nationalist, that this is perfectly okay to outlaw. This is perfectly, actually, kind of our duty to outlaw. I'm full Uganda when it comes to policy regarding homosexuality and transgenderism. I believe in going the Uganda route. They have it right. They have biblically based, emphasis on the base and the biblically, laws. So Uganda forever, Mike Pence never is how I view this issue. But anyway, that's all I want to say about that. I hope I helped you maybe see that we should see this as more of a medical establishment issue. This is about doctors violating their Hippocratic Oath. This is about a predatory pharmaceutical industry preying upon children and young adults and older adults. That's what this is about. Or that's not entirely what this is about, but that's how we should frame it politically. Can doctors, can Big Pharma just do whatever they want because a consenting adult? Is consent a basis for morality? Mike Pence is basically arguing that minors don't have the ability to consent. That's his argument. Adults do. That's Mike Pence's argument. But consent is not a basis for morality. So that's all I got to say about that. My name's Ray. It's the Evangelical Dark Web. And we will catch you on the next one.